Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with coverage of the 2017 Women's World Championship. Held in Tehran, the capital of Iran, in the Middle East. Held from February 10th till March 4th, 2017. Over 3 weeks, a long tournament. 64 players qualified. It's a knockout format, which means there are 6 rounds. Each round takes 3 days. 2 classical games are played, one with white, one with black. And if the score is even after those 2 classical games, then on the 3rd day there is a tiebreak. A tiebreak of 2 rapid games. If the score is still even, then 4 blitz games. And if the score is still even after all of that, there is the 9th game of the round, an Armageddon game where white gets 5 minutes, black gets 4 minutes, but black goes through if the game ends in a draw. Some controversy leading up to the World Championships. It was boycotted by some players. The highest profile player was Naji Paikidze, the USA 2016 champion, who boycotts the tournament because of the requirement to wear a hijab, a veil, the headscarf that is mandatory for women to wear in Iran. Paikidze said this supports the oppression of women, and this is a direct quote from her. "I think it's unacceptable to host a Women's World Championship in a place where women do not have basic fundamental rights and are treated as second-class citizens." End of quote. The other side of the argument is that hosting a women's sporting event like this in Iran will help the position of women in Iran. But Paikidze boycotted it, as well as some other players. I will not cover any games from round 1. There was one matchup that ended up in an Armageddon game where black, in a winning position, overstepped the time limit after 59 moves. She was 3 pawns up but had no time left. I want to show you a game of round 2. The second seed, Anna Muzychuk from Ukraine, was playing Alina Kashlinskaya from Russia. Let's look at the first classical game of that matchup. It was the second round, in other words, the last 32. White, Muzychuk, black, Kashlinskaya. White is a grandmaster, and black is an international master and women grandmaster. Muzychuk opened e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, castling. We're in the Joko piano opening. Knight f6, d3, a6, c3. This is a theoretical line that is on the board. Bishop a7, knight bd2, black castled, h3, d6, bishop b3, knight h5, rook e1, knight f4. We're still in theory. This all has been played before. Typical maneuvers from both white and black. Knight f1, knight f6, knight g3, and here Kashlinskaya comes up with a new move. She played it quickly, so it was probably part of her preparation. She pushed the pawn to h5. An alternative, as given by the commentator on the official website, Grandmaster Yevgeny Miroshnichenko, was to do something about the bad position of the knight on c6, for example. Regroup that knight through e7 to g6. But Kashlinskaya played h5. Muzychuk thought here for a long time. h5 is of course a pawn sacrifice. In the end, Muzychuk did not decide to go for it. Let's have a look what could have happened. The critical line is bishop takes f4, e takes f4, and then white can take the pawn. But then there is queen h6, attacking the knight, and if you have to play g4, that is not great. g4 to protect the knight, because then there is f takes g3. en passant, knight takes g3 and queen takes h3. Black gets the pawn back and has a nice position. The king is not very happy without any pawn protection. Instead of g4, you can also play knight d2 and protect the knight on h5. That way, the queen on d1 is now protecting the knight on h5. But then black can play f3. And if you take that, there is queen takes d2, winning a piece. Yes, white has compensation, has two pawns, but Muzychuk did not want to go for this. She played d4, closing the diagonal of bishop a7. Kashlinskaya played h4, which is a logical continuation after h5 to push the pawn through, hitting the knight. Knight went to f5, and here Kashlinskaya played g6, and that's not a good move. She should have taken on f5, and after e takes f5, queen takes f5, knight takes h4, and then, for example, queen f6, bishop takes, and the best thing here is to take the knight instead of the bishop, and for example, bishop g3, queen f6. This is just a sample line. White is slightly better. The novelty h5 and h4 has not really worked out for black, but this is still a game. Instead, Kashlinskaya played g6, and here Muzychuk could have taken the pawn. Nothing against that, but she decided on an even stronger move. Bishop takes f4, and that's probably what Kashlinskaya had underestimated. She can take the bishop back, but then the knight will take the pawn. White is a pawn up. Instead, Kashlinskaya took on f5, took the other piece, and Muzychuk took on e5, d takes e5, and the very strong bishop g5. The queen has to play, queen g6, and here Muzychuk took the pawn on f5, bishop takes, and a very nice move, queen c1. Simply protecting the bishop on g5, so the knight on f3 can play. After these exchanges, we see that two pawns of black are hanging. Both the h4 and the e5 pawn are attacked by white and not defended enough. Here a funny moment happens. Grandmaster Miroshnichenko said f7, f6 would be a nice move here for black, but unfortunately that is an illegal move. The bishop on b3 is pinning the pawn on f7. So two black pawns are hanging. Kashlinskaya played bishop d3, and here less strong is to take the e-pawn. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5, rook takes e5, and then rook a e8, and black gets some activity for the pawn. Much stronger is the move that Muzychuk played. Knight takes h4, the queen is attacked and should have gone to g7 to stop what happens in the game. Kashlinskaya didn't see that and played queen h5, and now another very strong move from Muzychuk. She played bishop f6. She is going after black's king. Black's king doesn't have much protection, and the grandmaster from Ukraine is going for the checkmate. King h7 played, and Muzychuk played bishop c2. If you're attacking a king, you need pieces into the attack. The bishop on b3 didn't do much, so with bishop c2, Muzychuk brings another piece into the attack, and at the same time is attempting to eliminate a defender. Of course, the bishop on d3 is defending the king, and white wants to get rid of that defender. Bishop g6 was played, and now a very nice move to bring yet another piece into the attack. Rook e4, with the idea to swing over the rook to the king side to attack black's king. It's not really a sacrifice, because if you take that rook, then bishop takes e4 check, king g8, and g4, and Her Majesty on h5 is trapped. She doesn't have any squares and is going to be lost on the next move. So rook e4 is not really a sacrifice, you cannot take the rook. Rook ae8 was played by Kashlinskaya, and then knight f3, after which Kashlinskaya resigned. 24 moves, a very quick win from the number 2 seed. Why did Kashlinskaya resign? The threat, of course, is rook h4, winning the queen, because the queen and king are on the same line. If you play king g8, there is rook h4 anyway, and you win the queen anyway because the queen is trapped. And even worse, if you move the queen away, white will not even take the queen because there's also rook h8 mate. Quite a crushing victory. A novelty from Kashlinskaya, which didn't really work out. Muzychuk was able to refute it and then win very quickly in a king's attack. Anna Muzychuk, the proud winner of this game, made a very good start in the second round. This was played on the 14th of February 2017, and on the 15th she will have to defend with the black pieces, and Kashlinskaya has to win to get the match into a tiebreak. I won't do daily reports on the Women's World Championship, but I will pick out any interesting games for you. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, please subscribe, and I'm looking forward to your comments. And you may want to have a look at my other channel, Chess to Progress. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.